Hi, everybody, and welcome here to Lesson 4, Learning Block 1. Lesson 4 is a lot of things kind of coming together and getting us ready to go into the examples that we're going to see in the lessons that follow. And one of the biggest things I want to do is to kick this off with a sense of how data plays a role in decision making. We're going to hear lots of examples of how people have used data in practice, but what does it look like when we think about it conceptually? How does data actually inform what's going on? How does it play a role in all of these kinds of things? And how does the ability to make decisions depend a lot, not just on having data, but having inclusive data? Decision making, when we think about an organization, is a little different than individual people. The process is the same, except when we do it ourselves, we only have to consult ourselves. We don't have to ask anybody else. As an organization, multiple people are going to be involved in this process. But when we think about decision making, it's a process through which an organization asks questions, looks at things that are out there in the world and says, I have a question. Is this working? Is this doing the things we want it to do? Could we do it better? You gather information that helps you answer that question. Then you look at a number of alternatives that the information suggests. So I have questions, I have information that generates alternatives, and then I decide from among the alternatives. I'm a rural program. We're really having a problem because doctors aren't moving out here. It's harder and harder to get our health screenings done. What are the alternatives that we have? That's a question. You can gather information on the provision of health, government services, city, county, lots of other programs you might be able to work with. You can compare the alternatives and then you make a decision. Okay, we're going to partner with this other health-oriented nonprofit organization to try to work together to get these screenings taken care of. That's a perfectly good way to approach the problem, but it's an example of decision-making around a particular issue. Data informs this enormously. Data suggests questions. Data is going to show you on a report, hey, wait a minute, there's some weird things on here. I've got students attending on Christmas Day in my attendance list. Those are the kind of things where you can look and say, okay, well, I've got questions there. Attendance on Christmas Day is small, but there are lots of other things that you're going to find. And you're going to say, well, what's going on? Why am I seeing what I'm seeing that come out of the data? Data is information in context. So data is part of what you gather, that information that you gather, that stuff that's coming together that you're putting together to help you make the decision. Data is a huge part of that. Data helps you weigh alternatives. If it's 150 miles to the nearest person that will work with you on your health screenings, that's a piece of data that's really tough because 150 miles is a long way to drive, especially if you're a program of any size. So you have lots of things like that that will drive alternatives. If you can't get there, you have to find some alternative. Is there a mobile group that can come to you, and so on? Data is thus going to inform decisions in a lot of different ways. I'm going to see what's out there. I'm going to see this information, and I see the data that gives me evidence, and it informs the decision. One of the most important things for me to say right here is that data does not make the decision for you. Data, we talk about data-driven decisions, and we talk about how data answers these questions. Data informs you, and you make a choice. Very, very rarely will data clearly point to one thing and say, that's the one magic thing. Data isn't a magic 8-ball that gives you an answer. Or more accurately, sometimes it can be like a magic 8-ball and it gives you an answer and it makes no sense for the question you asked. But data is going to inform decisions, but ultimately you've got to make these decisions from the different alternatives. Data helps, but it doesn't decide for you. Because you're going to be weighing all these different things together, data quality is huge. Data is going to inform you, but it's got to be good data. Garbage in, garbage out. If it's bad data, if it doesn't reflect reality, if you make a decision based on it, that decision could be wrong. It might just be a little wrong and it doesn't matter, or it could be a total disaster. Quality decisions need quality data. It's one of the reasons we talk a lot about data quality when we talk about data. But in decision making, quality data is hugely important. As an organization, data capacity helps you use data to make decisions. It doesn't do that by hammering one thing really strongly. It does it by hitting a lot of different things. Like continuous quality improvement, lots of little changes add up to big improvement. Data capacity, lots of small advances in data capacity can lead to big improvements in decision making. If you fix your data quality problems in 2 or 3 key areas, that can have knock-on effects all over the place. If you take a group of people that you're trying to bring in and try to help contribute to a decision, and they're terrified of data, they may not actually participate fully. But if they're comfortable with data and they have at least some basic data literacy skills that they've acquired, it can make a big difference. It gets better over time, but it takes a lot of time to build data capacity. So data is at the center of outcomes. Organizations have to work really hard to use data well, but the payoff is very large. If you can actually get to that point where you've got the capacity to use data effectively, you've worked on data quality so you know it's high quality, it can really help when you're making decisions. It is a big payoff. One of the important things here, though, is that it's not a solo voyage. Teamwork makes a huge difference. Data teams are an important part of using data. It makes it a lot simpler. Think about the data workflow. Who collects the data? Who codes the data? And remember, collecting is you go get the data in the field. Coding is you take that data, put it into categories that are useful to you. Then who enters all of that in your program management software or in whatever system you're using for tracking the data? Then who's going to analyze the data to see what the data is telling you? That workflow is hugely important. You want to have any kind of a team working on a data project to be an inclusive one. Have representatives from all stages of the workflow. Consider how data is going to be used so that you know that if it's going to be used in this area that's separate from all the collection coding, they've got to be in a group with the people doing the collecting and coding. It's very easy to lose track of the fact that lots of people may be at a step removed from the collection and coding of the data, but are still really relying on the data. You make an inclusive team so that the people collecting and coding the data know that there's somebody who really needs the data to be accurate, but also so that there can be that perspective of the people on the ground that's there. Massively important. You can't just invite people, have them sitting in a room, and then order them to do what you want them to do. You need to create a space where they can legitimately contribute. Consider all stages of the workflow and empower the people you choose for your data team to be a part of that team and to contribute fully. This means practicing what you preach if you are a leader in an organization, but it also means not being afraid to contribute if you're a member of line staff. You have to be in an environment where that space is safe to participate. And if you do that, you're going to make a lot better decisions as an organization. It takes a lot of time to move to this. And a compliance universe, a lot of times, is not culturally oriented to do this, bringing inclusive teams together and empowering the people at the bottom of the corporate hierarchy or the organizational hierarchy. It's not really geared toward that. But in a quality improvement world, everybody needs to be on the team and everybody contributes, because decisions tend to be a lot better when these teams are inclusive and everybody is empowered to act as part of the team.